Good morning, I'm Paolo del Rosario. Welcome to Weather HQ. Today's headlines. PAGASA is monitoring 2 more weather disturbances outside the Philippine area of responsibility as severe tropical storm Kristine continues to accelerate in the West Philippine Sea. One of them has the potential to become a tropical storm. The State Disaster Agency receives more reports of casualties from areas affected by the storm. As of last night, it is verifying 12 deaths, 4 injuries, and 7 missing, with almost 500,000 families in 13 affected regions. And later on in the show, we'll speak with the Social Welfare Department on its ongoing relief operations for calamity victims. And United Nations Secretary General António Guterres warns the world is paying a terrible price for its failure to address the climate crisis. Now let's check the latest on severe tropical storm Kristine. As of now, it is located in the West Philippine Sea. Now, aside from Kristine, PAGASA is also monitoring 2 weather disturbances outside of the Philippine area of responsibility. Now, the severe tropical storm Kristine was last spotted 125 kilometers west-northwest of Bacnotan, La Union. Now, it has maximum sustained winds of up to 95 kilometers per hour near the center and gustiness of up to 115 kilometers per hour. Now, even if Kristine is out of the Philippine landmass, most of the areas in Luzon and Visayas are still under tropical cyclone wind signals. Signal number 2 is raised in Cagayan, including the Babuyan Islands, Isabela, Quirino, Nueva Vizcaya, Apayao, Kalinga, Abra, Ifugao, Mountain Province, Benguet, Ilocos Norte, Ilocos Sur, La Union, Pangasinan, Aurora, Nueva Ecija, Tarlac, Zambales, Bataan, Pampanga, Bulacan, Metro Manila, the northern portion of Cavite, the northern portion of Rizal, and the northern portion of mainland Quezon. Signal number 1 is raised in Batanes, the rest of Rizal, the rest of Cavite, Batangas, Laguna, the rest of Quezon, including Polillo Islands, Occidental Mindoro, including Lubang Islands, Oriental Mindoro, Marinduque, Romblon, the northern portion of mainland Palawan, Camarines Norte, Camarines Sur, Catanduanes, Albay, the central portion of Sorsogon, northern and central portions of Masbate, including Ticao, Signal number 1 is also up in Visayas, particularly in Aklan, Capiz, Antique, including Caluya Islands, northwestern portion of Iloilo. Now, based on the latest track of PAGASA, Kristine will continue to move westwards and exit PAR this afternoon. Now, if you look at the track, there is a developing forecast within forecast situation wherein Kristine will be looping over the West Philippine Sea on Sunday and Monday and moving generally eastwards towards the general direction of the PAR region. Now, to understand why, we have to look at what's happening outside the PAR at the moment. Now, according to PAGASA, this scenario heavily depends on the behavior of the tropical cyclone east of Mindanao. Currently, this tropical depression outside PAR was last seen located 2,330 kilometers east of northeastern Mindanao. As you can see here, still quite a bit far. This tropical depression is forecasted to enter PAR this weekend, and as mentioned, it will affect the movement of severe tropical storm Kristine. Once it enters the Philippine area of responsibility, it will be named Leon. Now, let's take a look at this again. So you see the tropical depression over here. Now, as it enters the Philippine area of responsibility, it should, or could rather, affect the track of severe tropical storm Kristine, causing it to loop back into the Philippine area of responsibility. Now, apart from this, as we saw a while ago, there's another LPA right beside the tropical depression. Now, based on PAGASA's analysis, this LPA has a lower chance of becoming a tropical cyclone. In this wind forecast, you will see here that once Leon is inside the PAR and moves closer to the Philippine landmass, it may pull the severe tropical storm Kristine back. Now, that will depend on its strength. Now, according to PAGASA, they don't want to rule out the possibility of what they call a Fujiwara effect. Now, the Fujiwara effect is a phenomenon where there's an interaction between 2 tropical cyclones when they are nearby. Now, both cyclones, as I'll move on over here, that both cyclones potentially could influence each other's paths and intensities. But there is also a possibility that it will change in the coming days because, again, it will depend on the strength of and distance of these two tropical cyclones, particularly this one, the Yon, that we're anticipating to enter the Philippine air responsibilities. Now, the Philippines Fujiwara effect happened last 2009, where Typhoon Pepeng and Super Typhoon Kedan did interact. Now, let's go on the ground at the moment. Let's get the latest situation in Pangasinan. Now, among the areas affected by severe tropical storm Kristine, our Hannah T is there. Hannah, what's the weather there like right now?
Paolo, the weather here in Suwal remains unpredictable. The sun is finally up, but every now and then, strong winds continue to blow. Light to moderate rain is still persistent. Over in Alaminos, power interruptions hit most areas last night and streets were flooded due to the heavy rain. Winds were especially strong yesterday in Bolinao as it is a coastal area. As for evacuees, around 700 individuals from 196 families have already been moved to safer areas, particularly in Suwal and Lingayen. Local authorities are still finalizing the total count. 3 rivers here in Pangasinan, including Marusay and Balingkaging, are now above normal levels. Residents near these rivers, particularly in Calachao, Mabini, and San Fabian, have been advised to take extra precautions as flood risks may happen. Paolo.
Hannah, has there been any initial damage report for the entirety of Pangasinan?
Paolo, as of now, the Pangasinan LGU is busy with relief and rescue operations, so they haven't provided an initial damage count yet. The rain is persistent in nearby towns of Suwal. Later today, we will be visiting affected areas like Lingayen to check the damage. Back to you, Paolo.
Thank you very much. That was Hanati reporting live from Pangasinan. Stay safe and dry out there. Coming up, we'll speak with the Department of Social Welfare and Development about its ongoing relief efforts for those affected by severe tropical storm Kristine. Stay tuned. You're watching Weather HQ. Welcome back. You're still watching Weather HQ. I'm Paolo del Rosario. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council says there are now almost 500,000 families from 13 regions affected by severe tropical storm Kristine. We have on the phone with us DSWD Assistant Secretary and Spokesperson Irene Dumlao to tell us more about the relief operations. Good morning, Ms. Irene.
Good morning, Paolo.
Ms. Irene, right now, could you give us an update on the actual number of calamity victims that DSWD is providing support to right now?
Well, based on the monitoring of the Department of Social Welfare and Development as of 6 a.m. today, we were able to monitor more than 805,000 families who have been affected by Typhoon Kristine, and that's equivalent to more than 3.3 million individuals. We have monitored more than 5,400 the DSWD was also able to monitor that there are more than 111 million pesos worth of humanitarian assistance already extended by the DSWD. As we speak, our field offices are currently coordinating with the local government units for the immediate release of family food packs that have been requested from our department as part of our augmentation support to the local government units who are actually the first frontline in service delivery. We're currently in Naga to supervise the distribution of family food packs in typhoon-affected areas. And we will continue to monitor the distribution as well of family food packs and other needed assistance in other Kristine-affected areas in most parts of Luzon.
Asek Irene, are there still areas that cannot be reached due to the adverse effects of Kristine? Of course, do we also have a list of the areas most affected na kailangan talaga ng tulong?
Yeah, actually dito nga po sa Bicol, meron pa kaming mga na-monitor na more than 40,000 families who are inside evacuation centers. There are also more than 25,000 families who are outside evacuation centers. And considering that, the Department of Social Welfare and Development has prepositioned our goods in strategic areas or strategic locations in this particular region, we were able to release family food packs for the immediate needs of our disaster-affected population. And because of the close coordination also of our field office with the local government units, we are able to transport these needed goods to the affected barangays. There are some areas that are still, the roads are not still possible. We're working with the local government units and the members of the Regional Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council to help us transport goods soon as the flood water subsides.
All right, Ms. Irina, of course, right now we're forecasting another typhoon coming in, or at least potential typhoon that may actually cause a bit more trouble for the DSWD and, of course, the country in general. How ready is the DSWD with regards to funding, with regards to mga relief efforts for the potential of another severe tropical storm coming in and affecting those already affected by Kristine?
In most parts of our country, we have prepositioned as well family food packs and food items. Actually, there's more than 1.9 million family food packs which are located strategically across the country. And likewise, our National Resource Operations Center and the Visayas Disaster Response Center continue to produce family food packs at a 20,000 daily capacity. In addition to that, we have also drawn from the existing framework agreement of the DSWD with private distributors so that the family food packs of the DSWD that's currently producing will be complemented. In that manner, we could give assurance to our local partners that help with.
All right, so it looks like we lost Asek Irene Dumlao, who is currently in Naga helping with the relief operations there. We'll try and get more updates later on. Now, let's now move on. And as many households suffered from power outages due to the storm, we have on the phone with us Meralco spokesperson Joe Zadariaga. Good morning, Sir Joe. How are you?
Hi, good morning, Paolo, and good morning to all your viewers.
Sir Joe, what's the extent of the damage on power lines at the moment?
Well, we peaked at around 566,000 households that were without power last night, but we're now down to 412,000 as of 6 a.m. And we see this further improving since the bad weather has obviously moved out, and we will now see clear skies in the franchise area. So we're now going full blast insofar as our restoration effort is concerned, which we could not do last night given the strong winds.
Sir Joe, is there any area in particular na medyo nahihirapan kayo in regards to returning the normal power supply?
Well, it varies really in terms of the kind of trouble that we experience. Most are really coupled grids that hit our lines. We also have damaged transformers. It actually varies, Paolo. And most of the affected customers are in Cavite, Laguna, Batangas, and last night, Metro Manila was already part of the areas that were affected severely by the typhoon.
So, Joe, do we have a timeline on when normal power supply could be resumed?
We're looking at probably by tomorrow, hopefully we can somehow cut this in half. But we continue to work around the clock, Paolo. We just like to assure all the customers that Meralco will definitely not stop until the last remaining household is energized.
Thank you very much. That's Meralco spokesperson Joe Zadariaga. Stay safe out there, sir.
Thank you, Paolo.
All right, so we're going to have more weather updates when we return here on Weather HQ. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Weather HQ. Nearly 23,000 people were affected by Kristine in Batangas province. So we check in on the weather in Batangas City from Agatha Gregorio. Agatha.
Paolo, skies are clear now in Batangas City, but travelers we spoke to here in Batangas Port say that there are still plenty of stranded passengers who stayed here overnight due to rescheduled trips. However, some were told that they would get to travel this afternoon. We are still waiting for official reports from the Philippine Ports Authority. But in Batangas province overall, 22,900 individuals are affected by Kristine, according to disaster officials. Some areas continue to suffer from power outages, and rescue operations are ongoing due to flooding and landslides in various areas. At the Batangas City Sports Center, there are 125 evacuees from Barangay 2, 3, and Santa Clara. The residents we spoke to say they experienced floods and had to evacuate. The water was knee-deep where she lived. Like in most evacuation centers, partition tents are provided to each family. Food is also served 3 times a day. Paolo?
Agatha, how many evacuation centers are open now in the province?
Paolo, 222 Batangas evacuation centers are open for those impacted by the severe tropical storm. After all, signal number 1 is still up here with 325 barangays affected, and a recent PAGASA advisory shows that light to moderate rains will persist in the next few hours. Paolo?
Thank you very much. I was Agatha Gregorio reporting from Batangas Port. Now, signal number 2 is up in Aurora Province. It's going to update from our Francis Falve. Francis, what can you tell us?
Paolo, the weather here has improved a lot since yesterday. Floods have subsided and evacuees returned to their houses. Evacuees from affected 7 barangays were allowed to go back to their houses since late last night. According to the Aurora PDRRMO, the towns heavily hit by Kristine are Dilasag and Casiguran because they are the closest to the eye of the storm. In the whole province, some 3,892 families or 12,116 individuals evacuated. These are from the municipalities of Dingalan, Baler, Dilasag, Dinaluan, Dipaculaw, San Luis, and Casiguran. They have yet to give an estimate damage to the crops since most of the rice fields and other crops were submerged in water and heavily affected by strong winds from yesterday. Today, affected residents will start to clean the remnants of the storm Kristine. Paolo?
Francis, do we have any reports or numbers with regards to any of the casualties or any other pertinent details with regards to that from the local government?
The PDRRMO said yesterday that there were no casualties in the whole province of Aurora, but they're still gathering data to the extent of the damages in the crops because this province is an agricultural one. Paolo?
Thank you very much. That was Francis Falve reporting from Aurora Province. Let's take a look at the global news in regards to weather. UN Secretary General António Guterres has delivered a dire warning. The world is paying a terrible price for its failure to address the climate crisis. In a strongly worded statement at the UN Climate Change Conference, Guterres highlighted the escalating costs of inaction. He noted that climate-related disasters have cost the global economy $2.5 trillion since 2000 and devastating lives and livelihood, particularly in vulnerable communities. The report said, current policies are pushing the world towards a catastrophic 3.1 degrees Celsius temperature rise by the end of the century. hot air that people and planet cannot afford more of. The reports also pointed to emissions being equivalent to record sea temperatures, biblical floods, supercharged monster hurricanes, and massive forest fires. Well, yellow warning level is up in Zambales, Bataan, and Occidental Mindoro. Heavy rains will persist within 3 hours, and these rains will cause flooding in low-lying and flood-prone areas. Meanwhile, light to moderate rains is affecting Tarlac, Pampanga, Bulacan, Metro Manila, Cavite, Batangas, Nueva Ecija, Rizal, Laguna, Quezon, and Palawan, which may persist within 3 hours. Over in Visayas, residents of Negros Occidental, Guimaras, Iloilo, Capiz, Aklan, and Antique are experiencing light to moderate rains, and these rains may continue for 2 to 3 hours and may affect nearby areas. And that's Weather HQ for today. See you again next week, whatever the weather. Keep it here on BNC, the Billionaire News Channel. I'm Paolo del Rosario. Have a good morning.